She was yelling at me on the phone.
She actually told me it was all my fault that my dog had gotten out.
I said, we are both at fault.
No, actually, that's not true.
This is Judge Judy. Tiffany Best is suing veterinarian Dr. Angelina Beeks for losing her Australian Shepherd, Callie.
Judge, this is case number 50 on the calendar in the matter of Best versus Beeks. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
Thanks, Bert. Miss Best, you have a dog. What kind?
She's an Australian Shepherd.
How long have you had her?
For about a year and a half now.
What kind of facility do the defendants own?
It's a veterinary mobile clinic.
And who is the vet?
I am, Your Honor.
Do you have an office in addition to having the mobile clinic?
No, I do not. I go to several different places in the high desert where they don't have veterinarians. My main purpose is to help spay and neuter dogs and cats so we're not killing so many in the shelters. So I go where there aren't vets.
Okay. Where did you go to school?
Ross University Veterinary Medicine in the Caribbean.
How long a program is that?
It takes about 4 years. You have 3 years on the island. And then
What do you mean
have
about?
Some
What is
students
about?
don't take a break and they'll get out in 3.5 years. I did 4.
Where in the Caribbean?
So you do 3 years down on the island in St. Kitts, and then you do your last year here in the United States at one of the veterinarian schools. My last year was at LSU in Baton Rouge.
And in what year did you attend there?
2010, and I graduated in 2014.
So you started in the Caribbean in 2010.
Yeah, it was, I believe I started in May of 2010, and then I finished at LSU in June of 2014.
And in what state are you board certified?
California.
Have you ever had a veterinary practice other than a mobile spay-neuter unit?
No, I have not. I worked at a practice for 3.5 years. I worked at Bear Valley Animal Hospital in Apple Valley for 3.5 years. I was one of the main surgeons for spay and neuter and other surgeries.
You had your dog for how long before you decided to have her spayed?
I had her for a year. What had happened was we were going to have her spayed previously, but we had a neighbor's dog jump the fence, and she ended up pregnant. So what we did is we waited until she was done. She had the puppies in June, and then I scheduled this for the 31st of August.
Just a minute. She had the puppies in June?
Yes, in June.
June what?
It was middle of June. I believe it was June 18th.
How many puppies did she together? How many puppies did she have?
She had 9.
What was the father of these 9 puppies? What kind of dog?
German Shepherd.
So they were big puppies?
Yeah. They weren't very big, but I've never delivered puppies before, so I don't really have anything to base it off of.
And all 9 puppies survived?
Yes.
And did you give them away, sell them? What did you do?
I gave them away, actually, to friends and family.
How old were they when you gave them away?
9 weeks.
Okay, and during the first 6, 7 weeks, during that period of time, your dog nursed the puppies, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so this is your lawsuit. About 2 months after she had the puppies, you scheduled an appointment with the defendant to have her spayed because you didn't want to have that kind of accident again.
Yes, ma'am.
And you do understand that if you didn't intend to breed her, she should have been spayed well before she was a year old.
Oh, okay.
You do get that?
I do now. I haven't had to do it before.
Because she had already been through at least one heat period.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. She went to the defendant's. While she was in the defendant's care, she escaped, and she was gone, according to you, for 7 days.
Yes.
Fortunately, she made her way home, and she's back.
Yes.
And your lawsuit is for $5,000. You want both actual damages just for losing the dog. I don't understand. You'll have to explain that to me, other than the fact that you were probably very upset that the dog was missing, which I actually do understand. I don't know whether that's something that you can be compensated for, unless, of course, you went and sought psychiatric care as a result of this. So you have some sort of damage. I don't know how to gauge your sadness because the puppy was missing. In any event, what day did you bring the puppy to the defendant, or what day did the defendant pick the puppy up?
I dropped off my dog, Callie, on August 31st at 9:35 in the morning.
And where is the defendant located?
About 10 miles from me, up in the Marianas almost. It's all dirt area, dirt fields, horse property out there.
When you dropped it off, did you drop it off to this mobile vet unit, or did you drop it off to a house?
It was her home, but the mobile vet unit is parked in front, inside the gate.
Did you see any other dogs there?
Yes, there was a whole line of vehicles. So what we had to do is line up and then let them know we were there, sign the paperwork, and then they would send somebody out to get our animal from us.
On what date were you notified that the dog was missing?
It was the same day, August 31st, and I got a phone call between 11:43 and 11:44 a.m. So
In the
2 hours
morning?
later. Yes.
Who did you speak to?
It was either Eric or Derek. It was hard to understand.
Who's Derek Eric?
It's Garrett. Garrett is my surgical technician.
Is he here today?
No, he is not. My son, who has been helping me since COVID, he was the one he's also helping out as a veterinary assistant. So he was the one who actually went to get the dog to bring it to the truck to be spayed, and that's who it got away from.
Okay, so you got the call.
Yes, I got the phone call, and he just told me he sounded very panicked, which rightfully so, I understood that. He was very panicked. He said, could you please come back over? I was just told to call you to see if the owner would come help look for your dog. And I said, wait a minute, how did that happen? Because, I was baffled. And he said that, well, a slip leash wasn't used and the front gate was left open to the property. And he said that the front gate is never left open when there's other animals there.
Did he say who left it open?
No, he did not. He said that there's a newer employee working there and that he basically blamed him. And I didn't get a name until later on. So I loaded up my kids, and my daughter was mid-school on the distance learning. I had to take her off of it, apologize to the teacher, load them in the truck, and rush over there. And so when I got there, Miss Beeks,
No, it's Dr. Beeks.
Dr. Beeks was outside. She didn't say anything to me. She didn't acknowledge me. I followed Garrett. I apologize for messing his name up earlier. He told me to get back in the vehicle and follow him, and he'll take me to where Callie was last seen. And I did. I followed him in the vehicle. We saw no signs of her, but then we saw, I believe, Chris. I think that is her son's name. We saw him, and he was running out there looking for her. He had Callie's leash and collar in his hands, and he was running up the sides of the hills. Because, like I said, out there, it's all dirt. It's just fields, dirt, and sporadic homes.
On what date did Kelly return home?
September 6th, around 5 p.m.
Tell me how that happened.
To be honest, I'm not sure how it happened. I was very thankful for it, though. We were out looking. We spent, all 7 days out looking. It was over 100-degree temperature. There were a few rescues that had reached out and said, always try to take the same path home. And, we would do the little treats out the door that were her favorite with my kids, trying to find her. So we would always take the same path back, hoping that she would just catch a scent. We were told that dogs can smell for up to a mile. So we were just very hopeful. So.
Okay.
Yeah, she dug a hole in the backyard to get in.
You were in the house when you saw her, or did she come to the door?
She came to the door. I was cooking dinner. It was around 5 o'clock. We usually went out.
She smelled dinner.
Maybe. But, yeah, she dug a hole. We put Say Don't Get Out, and she was panting. She was very skinny. She was very dirty. There was nothing bleeding or anything like that, but she had, burrs stuck in her. She was a mess and very thirsty, but
she was a mess.
She was a mess.
Do you have a picture of Kelly?
Before or when she came home?
Both.
Okay, I sure do.
I would also, just for my own curiosity, love to see pictures of the puppies that you kept.
Oh, man, I did not bring a picture. Oh, wait, yes, I do. I do have one picture of one of the puppies that we have. Okay, so that's my girl. This is actually just a couple weeks ago. She was just laying there, and I was just checking her. It's usually after we give her a bath, and they're indoor-outdoor dogs. My dogs do not stay outside all day long. Of course, if we're gone, they go outside because
So this is a couple of weeks ago.
Yes. And
Okay,
then
and the other picture that you have?
the other picture that I have, that's the only picture I took. I was too excited when she got home and wanted to check her out, but that's when she got home. That's the back slider. She was scratching on the slider. I opened the door, and Remy was right there. That's one of her puppies, Remy. But she was just dirty. Her fur is very soft, and it just lays down flat. Her fur was stuck up in all areas just from the gunk, but it was over 100 degrees for that entire week.
See, that puppy is adorable.
Thank you.
You took Kelly to the vet. Do you have the vet bill?
I do have a vet bill.
May I see it, please?
Yes. And I did get the county voucher for $50, but because I used that, I won't be able to use it again because there's a limit on how many county vouchers you're allowed to use.
Did you have her spayed?
Yes, I have her rabies certificate and her spay certificate right here.
So the vet bill for that visit was $204, but you used a voucher, so it was really $254.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Other than the vet bill, did you have any other actual expenses?
Yes, I do. I had to make flyers. She did say she would make some, but the one that she made, she did send it to me. You can't tell that it's even my dog in the picture. It was just a very standard black and white, poorly done one.
So you made your own flyers?
Yes, I made flyers, and then I had to get the staple gun.
Stop. How much were the flyers?
$34 for the flyers and $39.99 for the staple gun.
What other actual expenses did you have?
Other actual expenses were that I had myself and 15 other people out searching their gas. That we used a lot of gas out for 7 days looking, and I would like to pay them back hearts, but that is something that I believe they deserve back.
What else? So far, your actual expenses were $328. What else?
That was it for actual, because the gas I totaled.
Okay. Forget gas for your friends. Okay, now you want to tell me how this happened? Is your son was there? Is that right?
Yes. So I was actually in doing surgery, and I heard...
I got it. Would you have your son step up, please?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She was very nasty on the phone. She wouldn't talk to us really at all. She just sent me a letter demanding $10,000.
So, Miss Best, where did you come up with the figure of $10,000?
Tiffany Best says her Australian Shepherd, Callie, escaped while in the care of veterinarian Dr. Angelina Beeks. She is suing for both actual and punitive damages.
Tell me your name.
My name is Christopher Beeks.
Mr. Beeks, want to tell me how the dog managed to get away?
I was just leading the dog from the cage to the RV, and as I opened the RV door, she got a little spooked, and she backed right out of her own collar, and...
Left the gate open.
Whoever was checking in clients at the time, if they were still checking any cars that were at the gate.
The plaintiff says that you said to her that this was a new person.
I am the new person.
You're the new person?
Yes.
So the person who was checking people in their cars was whom?
Probably one of the receptionists who take the phone calls and sign in the guests. I was just moving the dog from one place to the other.
And none of those people are new?
No.
Prior to doing what you're doing now, helping your mom, what were you doing?
I worked at Dave & Buster's as a bartender, but because of COVID, everything shut down and haven't been able to really get another bartending job because they pretty much filled those spots as fast as they could.
Got it. And what do you do for your mother?
I just assist with any extra work that she needs at the clinic, whether it's keep an eye on dogs that have just come out of surgery, make sure they're still breathing, moving dogs from one place to another. That's basically the main things that I do as a volunteer.
So you understand, both you and your mom understand, that you are responsible for the actual financial damages that the plaintiff suffered as a result of your negligence. You understand that?
Understood.
Good. And Dr. Beeks, you do understand that?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I would have
and so
spayed
far,
had been nice to us, but she was very nasty on the phone. She wouldn't talk to us really at all. She just sent me a letter demanding $10,000. That's the only conversations we were having. I had people out looking.
Do you have that letter?
Absolutely.
I'd like to see it.
And this was dated, I believe, the 3rd of September.
Okay. So, Miss Best, where did you come up with the figure of $10,000?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And she was yelling at me on the phone. And then I said, hold on. I said, the collar was not on your dog properly. And she goes, oh, you're blaming this all on me. I said, no, I am not. I said, we are both at fault.
No, actually, that's not true, Dr. Beeks.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tiffany Best says veterinarian Dr. Angelina Beeks owes for temporarily losing her Australian Shepherd, Callie.
Where did you come up with the figure of $10,000?
Well, it's a stipulation to do something in writing for small claims court, so that is why I wrote the letter. I did that because I didn't know how much to put on it. I've never done small claims before. And as far as me being rude to them, that is not the case. And then made mention later that that was her son, and I was never once mean to them. I was never mean to Mr. Beeks, not once. When I saw him in person, my kids were crying in the background.
I can imagine that you were upset.
I was, but I never once was mean. I even told him that I understand the accidents happen. And as far as not getting a hold of her, I texted her all day one day, and she never responded until the next day. So honestly, yes, I had to escalate it because she was the one not responding to me.
Your Honor, that's not true. I talked to her that very same day. It was probably around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I called her when I got out of surgery, and I talked to her then, and she was yelling at me on the phone. And then I said, hold on. I said, the collar was not on your dog properly. She slipped out of her own collar, so you didn't check her collar. And she goes, oh, you're blaming this all on me. I said, no, I am not. I said, we are both at fault. One, my son didn't put a slip lead.
No, actually, that's not true, Dr. Beeks. That's not true that you're both at fault. Your facility is at fault for losing the dog. Fortunately, the dog came back.
Yes.
I mean, if your son is new, then that's not plaintiff's fault. If your son, who has training as a bartender, is now a veterinary assistant, as you describe him, that's on you. The problem is the amount that you request. What happened?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed captioning sponsored by. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
I mean, let us assume that your dog didn't come home. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, Kelly came home.
Yes.
But if she had not come home and was lost permanently, either to someone else or to predators, you could have sued the defendant for Kelly's cost, what you paid for her. That would have been the level of her responsibility.
Okay.
What you want now is, now that you got the dog back, you are certainly entitled to even the money that you spent on a staple gun, which you still have, which you may or may not use in the future. But those are your actual damages. And certainly this was not, there are things that are accidental and there are things that are on purpose. Mm-hmm. This was an accident. We clearly would say that this was not a result of anything purposeful on the part of either one of the defendants. It was an accident. And unless you can tell me that you had additional expenses that you can verify, like visiting a therapist to get you through this difficult period, and I'm prepared to compensate you for that.
Okay. The only thing I was including in that, though, is my daughter missed 5 days of school. She couldn't go to school for those 5 days online. So she was having a hard time eating. She was having a hard time sleeping. She'd wake up from nightmares. I mean, that's...
Okay. $328. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're done.
This case is concluded. Parties are excused.
And on the next Judge Judy.
I'm not about to wreck anybody's marriage.
Her boyfriend failed to mention his wife.
She grabbed me and started beating my face.
He's the piece of garbage who broke your vows.
Judge Judy.
Heard the commotion. My son took off after the dog.
It was terrorizing. It was terror for me.
The other tech came in because he went out to help my son once he opened the door to bring the dog in.
The thing is she didn't. We were out every single day for 7 days. We never saw them out searching except for the very first day.
My son was chasing the dog. Garrett went with them. They kind of had her cornered down by the next property.
And I have it in text message proof that they only searched for 4 hours on the first day.
The area is, we're out in the desert, so everything is very big and wide. And
I just said that there was an accident that had happened at the vet. I said
she was able to get by both of them and took off.
She's a smart girl.
No, she just had a collar and a leash, and her collar was on loosely, so she was able to...
She maybe even come home.
Pull her head out of the collar. And that's how she got away.
Oh, my gosh. We heard her scratching, opened the back door.
Oh, very happy Callie came home.
I couldn't even say anything. I literally just started crying.
Their former roommate is back. I left my washer, dryer, my fridge.
But she's demanding top dollar.
Is it a refrigerator that you're still using?
It is, and it's leaking all over the kitchen.
Great, she's going to come and get it.
So they're not going to have to pay me for their portion?
Do you have any questions about that?
No, I'm clear.
Perfect.
This is Judge Judy.
Brandy Brown is suing her former tenants, Jeremy Stith, his brother, Jared Stith, and Riley Dawson, for damaged and stolen property and unpaid utility bills.
Order. All rise. It's case number 433 on the calendar in the matter of Brown versus Stith Dawson.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Brown, you were living in a house. Did you own the house or rent the house?
I rented the house, Your Honor.
So it didn't belong to you. How long had you rented the house?
I lived there for 7 years.
Did you have a lease?
No, Your Honor.
Who owns the house?
When I moved into it, my ex-mother-in-law owned the house. She has since passed, and so my ex-husband has inherited the house.
Did you pay him rent?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
How much?
$1,100 a month.
And when did he take possession of the house?
It was April of 2016.
I'm going to cut through all the chafe. Eventually, your two nephews, raise your hand, two nephews, they moved into the house.
Yes.
You had somebody else there, one of your kids or something, they were moving out. The two nephews move in, and they brought in a friend. That would be you.
Yes.
Your Honor. The friend did not move in until I got married and moved out.
That's okay. You moved out. In what month and year do you allege that they either damaged, destroyed, or took property that you own?
It was May of 2019.
Are you all still living in the house?
The two of us are.
Riley and myself. Jeremy has moved to the Bay Area.
So the two of you were living there?
Yes.
With anyone else?
Another roommate, Alex.
And who do you pay your rent to?
We pay our rent to a property management company that deals with
rent.
We now pay $1,600 in rent.
And when you moved out, Miss Brown, when you got married, did you all sign a lease with the new property management company?
Yes.
That is correct.
Do you have a copy of that lease?
Yes, it's in here, right? And
so this lease was executed the following month, June 1st, 2019. Now, it is your claim that at some point, there's no question that when you moved out in May, were they paying rent prior to your two nephews prior to your moving out?
Yes.
How much rent were they paying?
$625 they were paying to me.
When you moved out in May, what items did you leave there?
I moved out, however, in April of 2017. My son lived there until May of 2019. That's why my things were still there for the boys to use until my son moved out.
May of 2019.
That's when my son moved out, yes. I left my things, they had nothing.
What things?
Okay, when I moved out, I left my washer, dryer, my fridge.
Hold on. Washer.
All of my household items.
This isn't your house. This is a rental house. So is what you're telling me you purchased the washer, the dryer?
Yes. Yes, the microwave, the air conditioners, the lawnmower.
Just a second.
I'm sorry.
And you have the bills for all of that?
Yes.
I'd like to see them. Well, something that's here for $1,000 was purchased in 2003.
Yes.
What was that?
It was a refrigerator.
Who was living in the house in 2003?
I brought the refrigerator when I moved in. I have no idea who was living there in 2003. When I moved in 2011, I already owned the refrigerator. I brought it with me, along with the stove and the microwave.
When you moved in, there was no refrigerator.
The house was empty.
And you brought in a refrigerator that you bought that's now 26 years old.
Absolutely, yes.
Is it a refrigerator that you're still using?
it is, and it's leaking all over the kitchen.
Great, she's going to come and get it. You would like that, right? Then you can get a new refrigerator.
It wouldn't be bad.
Right, she's going to come and get her 27-year-old refrigerator. This is a Lowe's.
I purchased a stove at the same time. That's 2003 as well.
Do you still have the stove?
We do.
She's going to come and get it. The 25-year-old stove.
Thank you.
This is a washer, 17.
Yes. The ones that I left there broke, I bought the new pair. My son was still living there.
Do you have the washer or dryer?
We do.
She's going to come and get it. I don't see any other receipts.
When I left that house, everything in that house, 98% of it was mine. Everything, the couches, everything. But I don't have receipts for everything.
All I'm telling you is those are the things that you're going to get. Your washer, your dryer, your stove, and your refrigerator within 5 days. Now you claim that the defendants owe you a gas and an electric bill.
Yes.
From what month to what month?
Well, this bill says it closed at 6/10 of 19.
June 10, 2019.
Yes. 5/13 to 5/20 of 19.
So for a week?
However, there was a previous balance.
Is what you're telling me that they owe you for a week?
There was a previous balance on there. I don't know the exact dates of the previous balance.
Well, then I can't help you. Maybe it was when your son was there.
It was when my son was there.
Then I don't care.
Well, they paid the bills. They divided them by 4. I'm only asking for a third. There's 3 of them. There's still there. My son paid his portion.
I don't know that.
Your Honor, so they're not going to have to pay me for their portion? I'm confused.
Well, so far, you're talking to me about a week's worth of electric and some appliances that more to move, and I don't know what you're going to do with them. But if you want them, you go get them.
The issue, Your Honor, is that when I moved out, I told them they may keep my things. I married someone who also had a house full of furniture. When my son was leaving, I would come and retrieve my items. When my son told me in January he was leaving, I told him, what are you going to take? He didn't decide.
Listen, you can't tell me about the conversation that you had with your son. Right now, you have receipts of what you purchased that they say is still there, and you're going to come hire a moving company and pick up this old trash. Now, I want to know what bill that you are alleging they owe you.
The gas and electricity bill.
For the 1 week was how much?
The 1 week was $14.09.
$14. Now, what is the other balance that you allege?
It was $74.89.
And the entire bill?
Was $88.98. I paid it already.
So you've taken off your son's share?
No, my son paid his share.
I don't know that.
All right, you're right. I have taken off his share, yes.
So it's $74 divided by 4.
It was $88.98 divided by 4.
Well, then what did you say? What was 74?
Because the $74.89 was the previous balance. Then that 1 week after my son left was
an $88 bill. Is that correct?
$88.98, yes.
$66. Now, next.
The gas bill.
And how much was that?
Altogether was $72.76. We have the same problem with that back and partial.
And was that when your son was living there?
Yes.
72 divided by 4 was 18. 72 minus 18 equals $54. 54 plus 66 plus 14 equals $134. $134. You have any questions about that?
No, I'm clear.
Perfect. $134 is yours. You pick up your washer, dryer, stove, and fridge within 5 days, or they have the right to either keep it and consider it abandoned or trash it. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Do we have a counterclaim? Nothing. We're done here. Thank you very much.
There's no
however.
They destroyed my property.
There's no however.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They destroyed my family's belongings.
It's unfortunate, for sure.
While I'm on the ground crying, the one boy was laughing.
She said I was laughing and that she was crying on the floor.
I don't mind about Jared, but I will never speak to Jeremy again.
Close the chapter. It's a great day.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of...
Tisha Latin is suing her ex-husband, Alan Alvarez, for unauthorized credit card charges.
Miss Latin, you and Mr. Alvarez were married, and
Yes.
then you were divorced. When were you divorced?
We got divorced in October of 2018.
And then you decided to see if you could make a go of it again.
Yes, so Alan...
When did you start living together again?
We never actually lived together again. He was living at his parents' house, and I was living at my parents' house as well.
So you never jointly owned an apartment after your divorce?
No, we did not.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
At some point, you gave him a credit card.
Yes, June
What's
of
the name
2018.
of the credit card?
It is a Discover card.
And you gave him a Discover card that was in your name.
That is correct.
You made him a user on the card.
No, he was not an authorized user, so basically he had asked me to utilize this card to be able to...
Just a second. He was not an authorized user.
No, he was not. So he asked to use this card to be able to pay for school. I gave it to him in June of 2019, and he basically has stated that he wanted to utilize it to pay for his upcoming classes. He stated that it would be no more
Did you ever use the card together?
Yes, Your Honor.
No.
Sure. You never used the card for any purpose together?
No,
All of the charges on the card since June.
That is correct.
I'd like to see them.
Yes, I have all of the paperwork for you. So as you will see...
No. I just want to see. Well, we have Domino's Pizza in June. Who ate the pizza?
We both did.
He ate the pizza.
No, he didn't eat $40 worth of pizza.
It may be him and his family, but once again, Your Honor, he had that card, so he could utilize it, you know.
Pay careful attention to me.
Yes.
Is what you're telling me in June, when you gave him the card, because that's when this first bill is, there's Domino's Pizza in Houston, Texas.
Yes, that was not my transaction. Once I gave him the card, once again, it had a $0 balance.
We're not going in the same direction. I didn't ask you whether he used it for some of his expenses. I asked you whether you ever used it jointly, like when you went out and grabbed dinner.
No.
You said no. Okay, he's going to tell me his side of the story, then I'm going to figure out who I believe.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who was supposed to make the payments that were yours?
Or a verbal agreement between each other was I could make payments whenever I could.
You think that I'm going to believe that?
No, ma'am.
You think that I'm going to believe that? So
no, ma'am.
Why do you even...
Letitia Latin is suing her ex-husband, Alan Alvarez, for unauthorized credit card charges.
Now, then we had a new balance. That's a big balance. And that was in August, $2,000. Amazon, July 13th, $699. What did you buy?
Camera.
For whom?
I think she bought one.
No, you have a camera.
I bought one, too.
He charged...
Shh. One camera, but then I have a Best Buy, and then I have an Amazon Marketplace for $587. Pay attention to me. Did you buy a camera?
I do not have a camera. So once again, what he did with that is basically he utilized the card to be able to buy these purchases. And I'm not sure what the $587 one was, but I do not have it in my possession. And once again, this card was supposed to be utilized only strictly for school. But
Hey, you keep saying that, and what I'm telling you is I want to know that when you went someplace together, did you say, well, use the card?
No, we use mainly debit cards.
That's false.
No, that's correct. But we use mainly debit cards for purchases together, preferably not credit cards.
A new balance, and that was...
Seeing how high it was beginning to get. And
so, just a second, so you paid the bill?
Yes, I paid something on the bill. Because at that point, I had realized how much he was racking up on this card that was supposed to be utilized for school in August, only for $350, which I confronted him about it. From there, he actually sent over one payment for about $100 to be able to pay down the card. And then I put something else additional on it because I care for my credit. And I don't want that balance to be,
So you made a payment in August?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, once I seen how much.
Just a second. Well, who charged 2 tickets on British Airways on August 3rd?
That would be him. He has a friend who's having a wedding in Italy or Rome. And so he said that he wanted to surprise me with a trip there. So he actually charged for that amount. And I have...
Just a second. I'm not getting involved with playing house with this. That's sort of your problem. I want you to show me proof of what you paid on the card.
I have proof of payments I made.
I didn't ask you anything.
I'll bring it up to you.
No. What is it?
I have my bank statements.
How much you paid on the card?
I've paid $460 on it.
Yeah, but the camera was more expensive
Yes,
than
ma'am, that's true.
Well...
Or a verbal agreement between each other was I could make payments whenever I could after a split up.
Well, just a second. You could make payments whenever you could? You think that I'm going to believe that?
No, ma'am.
You think that I'm going to believe that? So
no, ma'am.
Why do you even go at it? Listen, I'm not going through these things because that's not what courts do.
Sure.
You clearly owe more than what you paid. Go outside and figure out what are yours. Did anybody go on this trip to Italy?
No, ma'am.
Well, somebody better return the tickets.
I have.
Just a second. Outside, figure out what you owe on the card. Whatever is a meal, pizza, Chick-fil-A, Olive Garden, I don't want to know from it. I only want to know what purchases are yours on this card.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand?
Clear. Yes, ma'am.
And then I'll see you whenever I see you. Later rather than sooner, I hope.
This case will be recalled.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Courts don't get involved in this kind of business with two people that aren't married.
Yeah.
I'm saying you gave him your credit card, and there isn't a question in my mind that you and he used that credit card together for certain things. I am not dealing with that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. In a case earlier today,
Letitia Alvarez for unauthorized credit card charges.
All right, have you gone over the list of items that are there?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see what you've identified as your items.
She got the list.
Well, what items have you identified as yours?
A charge of $587 on Amazon Market. A combined charge of Domino's and Olive Garden, which comes out to $44.25.
And you didn't go there together. You went there alone.
I went with her.
No, he did not, Your Honor. And then also, in regards to those charges, I actually have...
I'm going to throw this back at you. What I asked you was $44. I'm not splitting a bill from Olive Garden. I want to know what are your charges on this. Have you figured it out yet? And if not, you can go back, figure it out, what your charges. I don't want Olive Garden. I don't want Pizza Hut. I don't want Domino's Pizza. I want what your charges are. And if you can't do it, I'm sending you home.
I have my charges here, Your Honor.
Then what are your charges?
I have $206 with 10 cents for PayPal, and a combined of
what was $587?
Ma'am, it was a camera.
$587.
6 and 10 cents for PayPal.
What did you do with that?
I went to a convention and.
What else?
And $277 for my insurance payment.
Insurance?
Yes, ma'am. Car insurance.
And that's what the two of you discussed and agreed to outside?
We did not agree. So once again, Your Honor, even the charges for, the beginning of this where he was stating that I, put some on the card, I was actually out of town, and I actually have documentation showing that I actually was on a cruise. So how can I partake in charging anything on these cards? And then once again, he also had sent me a list of text messages showing that he was aware that he owed a balance. He got mad at me because I didn't want to take him back and have intercourse with him, and this is where he got upset and no longer wanted to pay the balance.
Let me explain something to you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed captioning sponsored by... Have you been cheated? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Courts don't get involved in this kind of business with two people that aren't married.
Yeah, I understand.
We don't get involved with this. I'm being very kind to you.
Yes.
I'm saying you gave him your credit card, and there isn't a question in my mind that you and he used that credit card together for certain things. I am not dealing with that. I'm not splitting an hour. The plane tickets.
The plane tickets, I actually have...
That's a yes or a no?
No, I did not.
So you still have them?
Yes, in my possession, which I actually have seen that they will give me basically some type of credit for it. Good. But I don't think I should be held responsible for his portion of
judgment for the plaintiff. We're done. Return the tickets.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
A style showdown in her consignment shop.
She grabs my hair and starts yanking it. And we started fighting.
Someone was arrested. That would be you.
Yes.
Judge Judy.
None of these charges were mine.
She told me I could do whatever. I did whatever.
He had cheated on me.
I did, but there's a reason why.
Just be more careful with who I trust my heart with, because apparently that did not work.
She's spiteful, angry.
You try to give people a second chance, it doesn't always,
She was the meanest person I've ever been with.
After a death in the family, a tug of war.
Your mother signed a document that you should have the car.
That's correct.
What your sister did was pull a fast one.
Now,
what's going on here? You came in and you paid off the car.
They said it was going to go into default.
The car wasn't in default.
I didn't know that.
I think you played it cute.
This is Judge Judy. Christine Espinosa is suing her sister, Sandra Espinosa, for the return of a vehicle she claims belongs to her.
Judge, this is case number 133 on the calendar in the matter of Espinosa versus Espinosa. Parties have been sworn in. Be seated, please.
Thank you, Bird. Miss Espinosa, the defendant is your sister, and each of you claim that they own a car that had belonged to your deceased mother. That's what this case is about?
Yes.
So I have a few questions. First, who has title to the car in their possession?
I do.
What state do you live in, Miss Espinosa?
Utah.
And in what state did your mother live before she passed away in May of this year?
California.
And in what state did your sister live in May of this year?
California.
At what address did your sister live in February of 2020?
I believe she was with my mother in Marietta.
Yes, she did. She lived with your mother.
Yes.
How long did she live with your mother?
I'm going to say a year, that I recall.
Was your mother sick during that year?
Yes.
What was the nature of her illness?
She had age problems and
dementia, spinal stenosis, diverticulitis, heart issues.
Where had you lived before you moved in with your mother?
I was actually in Las Vegas.
Did you work?
No, ma'am. I was out on a job injury.
What was the nature of the job injury?
A back injury.
Okay. So that's what was wrong. Your mother had dementia. She had spinal stenosis. That's why your sister was there, at least in part. How many times in that year that your sister was there did you visit with your mother from Utah?
About 8 or 10 times.
Would you stay for any period of time?
At least a weekend.
And so it's your testimony that you were there almost monthly?
I tried to, yes.
If I were to ask your sister and the other people who were here as witnesses, would they say you were there almost monthly to see your mother?
Probably not.
How many times do you think that they would say you visited your mother in that year?
Maybe 5.
Maybe 5. Would that be a closer figure to how many times you visited your mother in that year? Close to 5?
No, I say 8, about 8 times.
Now, your mother had a 2013 Kia. Your mother died in May. Prior to your mother's death, did you purchase that car from your mother?
No.
In what month did you contact the finance company to see how much was left on the loan?
That would be in August.
When you reason you contacted the finance company?
To purchase the car, because they said it was going to go into default.
How would you know that? You had never been involved with the car prior to your mother's death.
Right.
You weren't on the loan.
No, I wasn't.
So what prompted you to call the finance company?
I did not want them to repossess the car.
Listen to me. You were never involved with this car. What would have prompted you to call the finance company? I don't understand that.
Oh.
They certainly didn't call you. You weren't on the loan. So you contacted them.
Right. I just needed a car. It was a good car. I did not want it to go back to the bank. I wanted to keep it in the family.
Just a minute. So you called to see if someone else was making the payments. Because if they weren't making the payments, you could hop in, pay the car off, and get it.
Yes.
I mean, that has to be the answer. You called to see if someone else was making the payments. And what I want to know is, in what month did you call them?
The beginning of August.
Well, you wrote to Motor Vehicles in August. Show me the check or the proof that you paid off the car.
Okay.
I want to see what date it was.
Here's the wire transfer to the bank.
That was in July.
Is that July?
That was in July, not August.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have my wrong dates. I apologize.
And what date?
Of 2020.
So the beginning of May.
Yes, ma'am.
Before your mother passed away, who made the car payments on this car?
My mother was making them up until about April when I got a phone call from the loan company. It was a wellness check due to the COVID. At the end of the conversation, the representative asked me if everything was fine, and I said yes, but she repeated the question again. I go, yes. She goes, well, just to let you know, you're 1 payment behind, and in 4 days, you'll be 2 payments behind. The other sister that lives in Florida was in charge of her finances at that time, and the payments were to be made. I did ask my mother if she was aware that they had stopped making the payments on there, and she said no.
Just a second. Did you ever make the payments on the car?
I started making them after they told me that there was 2 payments behind. So the first payment that I made was for the sum of $800 in May.
So can you show me proof that you made the payment in May?
Yes, ma'am.
So that made up for April and May. Ms. Espinosa, did you make another payment in June?
Yes, I did.
Do you have proof of that?
I did have it because I did make the payment.
How much was that payment in June?
The payment was, I believe, $387, but my mom always made $400 payments, so I was making $400 payments.
You paid off the car.
Correct.
So the car wasn't in default. She had made payments on the car. One sister had, and then she made payments up for April and May and June.
I didn't know that.
Well, why didn't you ask?
They told me it was in default already.
No, I don't believe that. Unless you have a letter from them that it was in default, she has proof she made the payments. It wouldn't have been in default.
I don't have a letter.
I think you played it cute. I think you had a paid-off car, and all it was going to cost you was $3,700. And you think that I'm going to help you? That's unlikely. Miss Espinosa, you have physical custody of this car. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Your sister paid off the balance of the car.
I found out via letter. Yes.
This court doesn't think she should have the car because what she did was pull a fast one. And you're going to tell me that your mother signed a document that you should have the car.
That's correct.
In what month and year?
The letter was written on October 30th of 2019, and it was notarized on May 2nd of 2019.
Well, you see, my problem is, Miss Espinosa, that you testified a moment ago that your mother suffered from dementia.
Yes, ma'am. She was in the early stages of dementia.
And that, well, that's not what you said before.
No, it is not what I said.
And you said that your sister, I assume you were driving.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I actually think that your sister did not do the right thing by coming in and calling the finance company. They're more than happy to have somebody pay off the car and not have to deal with it anymore. So they said, fine, she'll pay off the car and we'll give her title to the car. Did your mother leave any other property other than this car?
She had her personal belongings also. There was a lot of undermining with that also.
But she didn't leave a house or any significant bank accounts?
No, she was renting, and the bank account was under my sister's name in Florida. She ended up with that also, whatever my mom had in the account at that time.
This sister or the sister in Florida?
The one in Florida.
Ended up with that bank account. So they had a joint bank account?
Yes, it was originally under my name with my mother's.
And was your mother receiving Social Security?
Yes.
So your mother's Social Security check was going into that joint bank account?
That's correct.
And your sister was paying the car note from that bank check?
To my knowledge,
right?
Yes.
And how many sisters are there?
There's 5 sisters and 2 brothers.
Oh, big family.
Yes, ma'am.
Does anybody else want this 2013 Kia?
I honestly don't know because I wasn't even aware that this was happening until I called the bank after I received the letter indicating that my other sister in Florida was the owner of the car and they had paid the vehicle off. I did call the bank. And
in your mother's name and your other sister in Florida?
No, that's the document that I received after the fact.
But was the car in
my
your
mother's name solely?
And solely?
Yes.
Now, you don't have a counterclaim.
Well,
at least for the money that... Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I just found out about all this shenanigans just about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, if that at all. I wasn't aware. When I called the loan company, I asked them what was going on, and they said that my sister in Florida had called them up and indicated that she was my mom's successor. So they sent her the documents so that she can sign up, and that's how they understood it.
Hold on a second. Are you in touch with your sister in Florida?
Yes.
Miss Espinosa?
Yes, I am.
You are? Oh, that makes it easier for me. When I say you're in touch with your sister in Florida, are you in touch with your sister in Florida about this car?
We were, but I talked to her every day besides the car situation.
Well, she was the one that was handling this. Who paid off the car, you or your sister in Florida?
I paid the car off.
Just look at me. Shh. With whose money?
My own money.
Did your sister send you any money?
No, she did not.
Was there any money in the joint bank account that your sister had with your mother?
I don't know that financial.
That's a yes or a no. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You know because you speak to your sister every day. How much money with your mother?
I don't know because I don't handle the financial stuff.
Well, then I'm going to ask your other sister. She's going to give me an answer. And so if you don't know, I'm going to believe her answer. Do you understand that?
Yes.
How much money was in the joint bank account? Do you know?
All I can do is estimate that there was approximately $8,000 in there, and then the stimulus check was added on there on April 29th of this year.
And do you know how much money your mother received from Social Security every month?
To be honest with you, no.
Was your mother a working person?
Yes, she was.
Before she got sick?
Well,
What kind of work
she had
did
been
she do?
retired for a few years already at that time, but she was also receiving compensation from my father's retirement also.
And do you know how much she was receiving?
No, ma'am.
I'm going to repeat myself. Did your sister send you any money from your mother's joint bank account?
She did not, Your Honor.
Did you ask her about it?
No, I did not.
I don't believe that.
Tell her why she started paying. Can I please say something?
Yeah, now I'll hear you have a witness?
Yes.
Sure. Come on up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Miss Espinosa.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to take a look at these bills while you had control over your mother's finances. So I'm going to ask you, did you ever use any of that money at casinos?
Claims her sister, Sandra Espinosa, is in possession of a vehicle that belongs to her.
Yeah, now I'll hear you have a witness?
Yes.
Sure. Come on up.
Hi, my name is
Who
Michelle
are you?
Espinosa. I am the sister-in-law. I am married to their brother.
What
so
I
the
wanna know-
reason
what I want to-
that the sister in
Don't-
Florida started taking over the payments was because we found discrepancies and withdrawals in the statements that Sandy was taking money out near gambling places, near casinos and things of that nature, $400 at a time, $300 at that time. I have the statements here on credit cards that were in Georgia's
That's from-
name only. In the time frame that we're
were in-
discussing, from
Just a second.
August to February.
Okay. So what you're saying is that the defendant had control over some aspect of your mother's finances, and that was changed.
Correct, because of the evidence that
So
we
your
found.
sister in Florida.
Exactly, because there was
Okay.
something that was not adding up.
How much was not adding up?
I have it
much?
here
Look
in
at
the thousands. I have it all highlighted on the money that she took out in different places. I would say at least
And
$3,000.
this was from...
Of the statements that we have. We don't have all of the statements. And she was paying her phone bill out of it, and she was paying her psychics, like all sorts of different things out of her money.
With the defendant in front of your mother.
Yes, my stepson did, and his
No,
mom.
I want to know if you did.
If I did not, in
I
front
wanna
of
know
her,
if you
no.
were-
I had
no,
a discussion
no,
with Georgia
no.
regarding the theft, but I did not have a discussion with Sandy when I was there taking care of her at
Not
one time.
interested. Not interested. Not interested. Miss Espinosa.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to take a look at these bills while you had control over your mother's finances. So I'm going to ask you,
Yes.
did you ever use your mother's account when you had control over some of your mother's money? Did you ever use any of that money at casinos or to pay a phone bill of yours?
Yes.
Yes,
that is true.
because-
My mother was aware of it because I asked her if I can use her credit card, and she was aware of it.
Oh, no. No, that I don't believe.
Okay,
No, that I don't believe.
No, it is the truth. I don't know if you believe me or not, but the withdrawals were withdrawals that I did for my mother, and I asked her on several occasions because she asked me if she could take money out of it, because I asked her to take the money out of one of them to consolidate all her credit cards. And then she finally asked me for the cash. She says,
Okay.
Mom, do you need it? She says, no. I says, and why do you want me to take it out? She says, because it's my money. That was her answer.
Okay, yeah, okay. Your mother didn't go to a casino, did she?
No. I went over that way, and I told her I was going to withdraw.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to pick which witness you want me to hear from.
Probably Karen.
Miss Espinosa.
Miss Karen Wilson. She's a good friend of my mom.
Okay.
She's known her for over 30 years.
Okay, great.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Is it your intention to sign title over to her?
I'd like to take the car home with me.
Well, you don't have the car. And I know that you would prefer to have the car because it's a good little car. But I actually think that you were a Swiftie.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christine Espinosa is accusing her sister, Sandra Espinosa, of withholding a vehicle she has the title for.
Miss Wilson, you were a friend of Miss Espinosa's mother for how long?
Probably about 30 years.
Did you see her in the last year of her life?
Yes, I did.
Who was her primary caregiver the last year of her life?
Sandra was.
How many times did the plaintiff come to visit in the last year of her life?
I had never seen her there before. This is the first time I've met her or I've seen her. But from what Sandy told me, when she came, it wasn't.
No,
that...
don't tell me what.
Okay.
Okay. Don't tell me what Sandy told you. You never saw her.
I never saw her.
Was her last name Espinosa? Your friend.
Well, I knew her as Georgia.
Did you ever have discussions with Georgia about who she wanted to retain this car?
Yes, I did. Back in 2018, Georgia was concerned that once she passed, it was going to be a big fight with her family. And it upset her. She was concerned about it. And I told her, I said, the way you can get around that is just make a list and who you wanted to go to whom. And so she had discussed with me and another longtime friend that, she wanted Sandy to have the car for taking care of her because she did such a good job. And she did. When I went over there, the house was always clean. Georgia was always fed. And, she was doing good.
Well, so this is my question to you. Somebody paid off the car. Somebody was going to have to pay off the car. Make regular and consistent payments on the car. Otherwise, it was going to be repossessed. The plaintiff, although I think her motives were not born out of goodwill, and certainly the timing was not consistent with being a relevant sister, she did pay off the car. Your friend has been driving the car for about how long? 6 months? 8 months?
Actually, the
about
car
6 months.
The car's been sitting for about 2.5 months when all this started.
It may have been sitting, but you drove it in May, you drove it in June, you drove it in July, you drove it in August, you drove it in September. Then this all started. May, June, July, August, September. You drove the car for 5 months, and you paid $1,200. That's the only money that you say you paid towards the car.
Yes, I was making the monthly payments on there. The day after my mother passed.
You made $1,200 worth of payments.
At that time, yes.
At any time. You never made any other payments towards the car.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed captioning sponsored by. Are you in a family dispute? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Okay, now, the only thing that you paid towards that car was $1,200, and you drove that car May, June, July, August, and September for 5 months. That's all I'm saying to you. That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
And your lawsuit, actually, you're asking for $3,700, which is what you paid when you paid off the car, because your sister actually has physical possession of the car.
Yeah.
Now, is it your intention to sign title over to her?
I like
car. And I know that you would prefer to have the car because it's a good little car. But I actually think that you were a Swiftie. So I don't think I'm going to make that judgment, but I am going to award you what you paid for the car, which is $3,700. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you. In order to get that, we will hold up the check. When, in fact, you sign over title to the car, you get your check. Do you understand?
Yes.
Otherwise, you get nothing, and you don't have a car.
Okay.
Got it?
Got it.
Perfect. We're done. Thank you.
This case is concluded. Parties are excused.
And on the next Judge Judy.
Just vendetta. That's all it is. Just bad blood, what have you.
I don't believe it was a vendetta.
They were all there just a couple days after my mom passed, and you have to get out of the house.
I wanted the car because it belonged to my mom. It meant a lot to me.
You have to get out of the house. When? Now.
I don't believe she deserved it.
I mean, electricity was turned off and everything else. Yeah, it's all wrongdoing.
She's stealing my mom and taking advantage of her.
They came in. You have to get out. That was my window there.
We found statements. Her withdrawals on there.
Just hurry.
We stopped all the